You're listening to The Girl Dad Show.
Welcome to Season 3 of The Girl Dad Show, where we explore the intersection of parenthood and entrepreneurial spirit. Join me and some incredible guests as we share tips and tricks for finding work-life balance and making a positive impact not only on the world, but also our families. Let's create a fulfilling life together. It's The Girl Dad Show, Season 3. Sam, what's going on, man? Thank you so much for joining me on my show today.
Dude, thanks for having me, man. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you. I'm super excited to introduce you to the listeners because you are definitely working on something that is very, very near and dear to my heart. So let's just jump right in. Why don't you tell everyone what you do for a living?
So I own a company called Theory Coffee Roasters. And we started off as a coffee roasting company, but we've since added a few cafes. We're working on our 4th cafe right now. And we own a bakery, a wholesale coffee roastery, and 4 cafes. So that's how I spend my time running all of those simultaneously.
Yeah, you got to break down your origin story though, because I love how you got into coffee. It's such a great story. Do you mind sharing a little bit about how you got into this journey? Because you have a very diverse background.
Yeah, I've done a lot of things. I call it my gathering season. I was just gathering. I didn't know what I was gathering for, but it all kind of culminated in coffee. So, I grew up around coffee. I remember just, my grandpa. I mean, I have some really fun memories of waking up in the middle of the night, spending the night at my grandpa's house, and just coming downstairs. He was a farmer. So I'd find him, 3, 4 a.m. getting ready for his workday, just with a cup of coffee, rocking on the, he had a reclining couch. So he was just like the chill before the day got started. Fast forward to a trip my dad took to Guatemala. He came back with some green coffee that he had bought at an open air market. And he brought it back for me as a gift. And neither of us knew what to do with it. So we thought, well, you roasted chicken in the oven, you might as well try roasting coffee in the oven. So we spread the coffee out on a baking sheet and put it in the oven, turned the oven up to high, whatever that was, and proceeded to try and roast this coffee.
Sounds like a horrible idea already.
It was a bad idea because we were unaware that one of the byproducts of roasting coffee was a whole lot of smoke. So, when we opened the oven to check on the coffee, the smoke just came billowing out and, flooded the entire house. The fire alarm's going off, and we're running around trying to open the windows and the doors to get the smoke out. But it was that moment that, it was like, well, if that's not how you do it, how do you do it? And so that really, I pinpoint that as the moment that just sent me down the rabbit hole. So, started doing some home roasting after that, just for friends and family and my own personal consumption. And slowly over time, as I got a little bit better at that and started getting some positive feedback, it just kept me going. So here we are now.
How did that coffee taste? Did you try any of it?
Yeah, we tried it. It was just really dark. Like, it was overdone. Yeah, it was over roasted. I like dark coffee, and it was too dark. It was like we just pushed it too far. It ended up being tasted like charcoal. Eventually I got better at roasting that coffee, so I had full 10 pounds of it, and we got some good coffees out of that particular batch. But it took me a few goes.
Yeah, and then when you started researching it, did you start to get the proper machinery and roasters for that, or did you still do it in your oven?
No, I went from the oven to a hot air popcorn popper. So like one of those, the ones that have the spout where the popcorn billows out of it, Well, it swirls the coffee around in there and just roasts it with hot air. And so, that was a fun little, honestly, it all was part of the process, but like, there's one particular hot air popcorn popper that, the home roasting world endorses as a good model because it's just the right amount of heat and the right amount of air. The one I had roasted it super fast. So I was getting like roasted on the outside, but the inside was still green. And so then I would have to like get a really long extension cord to kind of like tone down the amount of electricity that was going to the popcorn popper. I would unplug it and plug it in and unplug it and plug it in just to try and get like really good roasts. Super crude method. So I graduated from that to a barbecue grill. So a friend of mine had converted a barbecue grill into a coffee roaster. So you had this like stainless steel drum that you would put the green coffee in, and then it would spin on the grill like a rotisserie kind of. We had a more high powered motor. So I went from roasting a third of a cup of coffee. So if you can imagine a third of a cup on a hot air popcorn popper. So on the grill, I could roast 8 pounds of coffee. So that was kind of a game changer, but still very crude method. Yeah. I don't roast at a barbecue grill anymore. If anyone's watching this and is curious about trying our coffee.
Well, I'm assuming everyone will realize that there's more to the story, and I love the origin story because it's so funny and it's so amazing that you must have loved it so much for you to push through that process and experience, because doing it with all these little machineries that aren't meant for it, you're like makeshifting it as you go and failing as you go, and just to persevere must mean that you really loved it.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that. There's a little bit of naivety going on. Like, honestly, when I was roasted on the barbecue grill, I would, if I would have walked into a coffee shop and seen an actual coffee roaster, I don't know if I'd have been able to tell you what it was. I was just, I was just doing my thing a little, just following the next, the next little morsel along the way. So.
And is that how you've been treating your business and life as so far? Is just kind of like, what's the problem in front of me and solve for it?
Yeah, I started using the phrase like, put the cart before the horse and then let the horse catch up. So that's the methodology that got me going. It doesn't necessarily work as well now. But I still do that a lot. So I'm not the type of guy that needs everything to be perfect before the thing gets launched. Yeah, I'm like, just let's get it out there, and then we'll tweak it along the way. And coffee's such a kind of an artisanal product that people actually enjoy being along for the journey. They like to watch you. They like to watch the improvements as they come, and so we haven't been scared to, be a little bit early on things and then let things, let our processes or whatever catch up to the launch. So.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And I have a couple questions about a couple things that you just commented about, alluding to how you used to be like that. And now it sounds like you're turning a new leaf, which I'm very curious about. But before we jump from that, can you share like where you're at now with your coffee company? What are the big things that you're working on now?
Yeah, the big things that we're working on now, we are opening our 4th shop, which really is the end of our first growth move. So, we wanted to have 5 shops in 5 years. We're going to hit 4 shops in 5 years. So, we're pretty close. We're going to be opening this next shop just a little less than a year after we opened our last shop. So we're on pace we're doing about a shop a year right now. So the next thing we have to do after that is we get that stabilized. We also simultaneously are working on a growth plan for the next season of Theory Coffee. So you and I are working on that together, and we've just finished building out, a model to model out the different scenarios that will help inform how we grow. And so I think, we've all landed in a, pretty unanimous decision. We still have to flesh some of that out, but there's definitely more growth on the horizon. So yeah, I'm having a super fun time, growing and figuring out like, just how to do the next thing and how to grow, culture is so important here at Theory. I was having dinner with friends last night, and they were like, or 2 nights ago, and they were like, it's just like when they walk into different coffee shops, they're like, it is just amazing what y'all have built with your team. Like your team just seems so kind and outgoing and friendly. Like they actually love doing what they're doing, and they love working together, and they love serving us because they're, my friends are also our customers. And so, growing at the pace, whatever pace we grow at, we, just really trying to crack the code on not outpacing culture, how to let culture be the driving factor of how fast we can grow. And so I feel like we're in a good place with our culture right now. So it feels good to be able to push on growth again.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I love that you brought that in because you're obviously very passionate about the product, so much so that you recently won some awards, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, we just, we've been competing in, it's called the Golden Bean Coffee Roasting Competition. It's the nation's largest coffee roasting competition. And there's a couple different competitions that we compete in, and I'll share a little bit about the other one. But this competition's a fun one because there are all the coffee roasters that show up to this competition are bringing their very best coffee. So the best coffee. So there's a bit of like, how good are you at creating relationships in the with producers and in the coffee importing world, and then how well do you do at roasting that coffee? So there's a bit of like sourcing and roasting involved in this competition, and so we actually did really well this year, and we won our entire category. So you can win individual medals for your coffees, which we won individual medals for every coffee that we entered. But, you can also win the overall trophy in your category. And so we won the overall trophy, which means we were basically best in show for the category we entered, which was small chain franchise category, kind of lump it into one. So awesome. We were going up against some big players, some people that have won, multiple times. They have, some of them have 3-peats under their belts, so it was just a fun year to walk in with that trophy.
Heck yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. It's amazing. And the coffees they're like some of the best coffees we've ever had and we've ever roasted. They're delicious. So
is it different than the current batch that you had? Did you have like a show coffee that you took with you, or is it part of your current lineup?
Yeah, they're currently available. So you can, if you come into our shops, you can taste them. If you want to buy some online, if you're not local to Reading, we ship all over the US, but we have one coffee that's it's a Colombian coffee that was, so all coffee goes through a fermentation process, more or less all coffee does. And so the fermentation process that this producer used was to introduce koji spores to the coffee during the fermentation process. And koji is used to ferment sake. And so it has a sake flavor to it, as well as some coffee flavors to it. So it's just this, I've never experienced anything like it. It's just a wild, adventurous coffee. So that's a super fun one.
Yeah, I remember getting your coffee earlier this year, and it was amazing. It was so many tones, and there's so many things going on, and it was very, very sophisticated. It was very cool. A lot of flavors in your coffee. Yeah.
Good. I'm glad that you describe it like that. That's one of the things we're after when we're sourcing coffees. Like coffees can be scored like wines can, on a scale of 0 to 100.
Yeah.
And we're always looking for really high scoring coffees. But one of the things which you're getting at, and you're saying it in your language, which is great, is complexity, and that's discernible layers of flavor, like the flavors. So when you can taste multiple things happening in the coffee, you might not even be able to articulate what those things are, but like, hey, there's a lot going on in this coffee. Those are the coffees that get us really excited. So coffees with a high level of flavor complexity.
It's awesome, man. Yeah, I love it. And I could talk to you about coffee all day because
Yeah.
you know I'm
Yeah,
a huge fan of coffee, and I love everything about coffee, and yours is really good. It's really
Well, thank you. Appreciate
yeah.
that.
This episode of the Girl Dad Show is brought to you by Owners Club. As a business owner myself, I know firsthand how challenging the journey can be. Whether it's having someone that I can ask a very tactical question to, or just being able to share my big successes without guilt. Building a business is a lonely journey, and it does not have to be. After building and coaching dozens of businesses to success, there is one insight that is so obvious and simple, yet hard to execute. And that is network equals net worth. And so if you're a growth-minded, supportive, smart, and hardworking business owner looking for a community of like-minded entrepreneurs to build with, look no further than the Owners Club. You will make lifelong friends and build your business that works for you. You can learn more online at owners.club. So anyways, let's switch gears for just a little bit. Talk to me a little bit about your family and kids.
Yeah, I have a wife named Rebecca. We just celebrated our 19th anniversary
Wow.
on the 28th of this month, or last month.
Congratulations.
So just 3 days ago.
19 years?
Yeah. Thank you. Wow. And then we have 3 kids together. So our oldest is 15. We have 2 girls. The 2 girls are the oldest. The son is the youngest. So 2 girls, 15 and 13. And then my son is 12 years old. So 3 fun kids.
Teenagers.
Yeah, the 12-year-old is the outlier. He'll be 13 in next February. So we'll have all teenagers.
That's exciting, man. Tell
Yeah.
me, what should I be looking forward to? As I have a 4 and 6-year-old, what is it like to have teenagers? What's the major difference in that decade?
You know, you get so many different perspectives on teenagers. You have so many parents that are like, "Oh, teenagers are the worst." It's like, well, it doesn't have to be that way. You know, I actually, I mean, yeah, there's more emotions involved, that's for sure, but I have so much fun with our kids right now. Like, this is probably my favorite, season. They have just, they're playing sports and they're developing all this, there's, individuality, this personality. And it's just super fun to be able to meet them where they're at and just create connection points around, what's fun and interesting to them, and, figure out a way to make it, if it's not, naturally interesting to me, like figure out something that is interesting about what they're doing, that we can connect on. So it's just fun because they have, they're becoming, deeper, emotionally as humans. And so, just having some really great, shared time where, you figure out how to be able to engage them at a deeper level than just like, how was school? What are you doing? How's sports? How is your heart? Like, what's going on in your world? Like, are you having any problems with friends? Are you having any friends that are treating you well? Just being able to engage them and ask them deeper questions and just let them, become, I don't know, just deeper human beings, more thoughtful, more empathetic, that sort of thing.
Yeah. That's actually very telling what questions you're now asking. That's very interesting. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. I'm actually looking forward to that as well too, because, I love being a dad at this age. It's super fun and it's highly, reactive and engaging, and, you play tickle and then they laugh. And, it's like very simple and straightforward, right?
Yeah.
But, at the same time, I am looking forward to having a more complex conversation with them and really understanding how to talk to them about values and characters and helping them define what that looks like. And that's a really good thing to look forward to. What's the hard part? You got to have something that's hard for me here.
Oh, I think the hard part is, like I was mentioning, emotions start to also get amplified. And so, allowing them to process through those emotions and figuring out how to help them do that in a healthy way without, just making them, stoic people. Nothing wrong with stoicism, but it's like, we want them to be able to feel deeply, but also, be able to figure out how to rein that in after a period of time and be able to use it and channel that in a really healthy way. So just working through all of the heightened emotions. And, I don't know if you were like this, in late junior high or high school, but everything just feels so intense, If somebody says something or if somebody does something or it all just feels amplified. So being able to, identify with that and make sure that they know, that it's okay for them to feel that way, but also process through that and get to a healthy place on the other side of it. I think that's probably the most challenging overall.
I do remember that. And it's like, it's so funny how viscerally I remember that, right? Like this expectation or pressure to like be perceived a certain way, or like you just didn't want to mess up, or there's like so much social pressure. And I think like that's just like a part of growing up. And it's like so funny to think about my kids going through that in the next 10 or 15 years, because I'm going to my 25 reunion this year, and I honestly can't wait. I'm so excited, because I'm like, I guess I just don't even care. Like it doesn't like, and I think that's part of growing up, right? Is that like you just don't care anymore, Like that sounds terrible.
No, it's such a good place. I think it's so important to get to the point where it's like, I'm just doing me, and you can form whatever opinions you want, but I'm good either way.
Yeah. I have a mentor who's wiser and more experienced than me, and he told me when I told him this story about how like it's fun, this stage of my life where I'm starting to realize that I don't really care anymore about like what people think about me, and it's allowing me to be happier and more free. And I was like, is this part of growing up? And he looks at me and he goes, when you actually grow up, you'll realize no one ever cared about you. He's like, there's like a whole nother era where you actually look back and you go, no one actually ever cared to begin with, and you just thought that everyone cared. And it's so funny, makes me laugh. So talk to me about what your kids think about you doing your business.
The business has been it's been a fun ride. They've watched, fun. It's been a ride. It's been all types of the ride. It's been scary. It's been fun. It's been nail biting. It's been everything. And they've gotten to see, I think I've buffered a little bit from them, especially early on, where you want them to feel super safe and secure when things are tumultuous here. I think I probably did buffer a little bit, but they get to see now. They're really smart and they're very observant, so they get to see. They'll be like, "What'd you say about that person, Dad?" I'll be like, "Well, just struggling with them as an employee or whatever, So they're in it, So you can't really hide it. You can't really hide things from them. And it's probably not beneficial to do that. But man, they treat it like it's their own. To be honest, they'll often reference like our company. It's our company, or they're always asking as well, like so can I be this role in the company when I grow up, whatever their particular flavor is that they do well or they want to do. My 15-year-old asked me if I thought, managing a cafe and going to high school at the same time would be too much work, or if, I thought she could handle that workload. So they're super engaged and excited. And so we're in a kind of a small town. And theory in our small town is, so we're about 100,000 people, a little less than 100,000 people. And it's, it's a staple in the town. And it's something that people look at and say, look what they did. Like, it's super cool and everybody's proud of it. And when people come to town, they want to bring them to theory. And so that sort of thing makes my kids super proud to be a part of it. They just feel like, at some level, they're a little bit of like local. They embrace that little bit of local celebrity, So they're feeling it. They like it.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. That's really, really awesome. I love that. And is that like kind of like the goals and for you, like, where is that like something that you're trying to strive for as a father, or is that something that you're trying to strive for as a business person, or both?
My whole thing as a business owner is like, I would be perfectly happy well, I don't know about that. I'd be happy, roasting coffee, just getting stuck behind the roaster, just looking at the data and being super nerdy and that sort of thing. But I've always felt like my role as a business owner is honestly now shifted to creating opportunities for people, so I feel the pressure of, my general manager and, my cafe managers and anybody that wants to grow with us. Like, I want to be able to provide a place where they don't just immediately see the ceiling that they're going to hit and that's where it's going to be forever. They know we're continually growing. And so I think about that for my kids too. If they wanted to be a part of, theory in some way other than maybe just like summer job or, that sort of thing. I want theory to be a place where they actually could create a career if they wanted to. If they want to do something else, I'm also all for that. But I do want it to be a place where they can see a future for themselves if that's what they want to do. So
yeah, that's really cool, man. Yeah. So it's like at this stage of your business, you're looking for different things is it because you're feeling a little bit more established as a business owner, or is it because you are changing the guard as a parent to teenagers? And what's driving this? What's driving this change?
Yeah, I think it's both and, to be honest. I think winning a couple of these competitions has given me a lot of confidence as a business owner, for the future of theory. I know that a lot of owners, we live on the edge, right? We live on the edge of like, hey, we've got something good going, but we're also waiting for the shoe to drop. And that shoe drop feels less ominous now, right? It feels less likely. It could happen. Things could go south really quickly. You never know when that's going to happen, but yeah. But there's a lot more confidence in what we're doing and that there's longevity in it. And so now I get to step back a little bit from, just being really aggressive in what we're doing. And I get to play a different role. I get to empower people because it's not so fragile anymore. I don't feel like I need to be running around like, got to do this, you got to take care of that. And, managing really tightly, I now can affect at a different level. And so, I think I've more or less turned a corner with that. And so, yeah, just also, recently feeling very fortunate for the work that we've done in the industry, the position that it's created for us, and not feeling like now I need to kind of hold on to my territory. I could be a lot more generous with the knowledge I've gained along the way, like, the systems and the operations that, other people are struggling with. And I could be a little bit more like philanthropic and giving. And there's also, it's not completely altruistic. I think when you get to that point in your career and you can start, giving more to people, adding value to what other people are doing, there's also a value that comes back to you in that, right? In that scenario. So it's a little bit more seeing the long game, seeing the big picture than just feeling like I need to be really territorial and I need to carve out my thing. My thing is carved more or less. There's still work to be done there, but it's not as fragile as it used to be. So it allows me to be more outgoing, more philanthropic, more giving, more generous. So
that's awesome, man. That's really great that you're kind of going through these tides of the business journey and feeling these changes as you're going. And I'm assuming that has major impact on kind of your now future goals on your business, but has that impacted your future goals for your kids? And as a dad?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a great question, and one I really love because, I used to do that with the business too, which was, I have to get this thing off the ground, which means I've got to get this into a stable place, which means that there was a lot of sacrifice involved there that I would allow to, you know, a little sad to admit it, but it would sometimes take priority of time, you know, from my kids. And I'm now actually, I think about it in reverse now, like they're way more of a priority than, you know, the time that I have to show up and put into the business. So it's definitely turned a corner in the way that I, you know, the way that my relationship is with my kids and the way that I view that time. And so now I'm way more intentional about pouring in time, being at practices, showing up to games, you know, like just being at the things that matter in their life and being a dad that, you know, has an impact on, you know, who they are in the future. So yeah, it has shifted for sure.
It's awesome, man. You're doing the thing that everyone is trying to manufacture, but you actually manufactured it. It sounds like.
Yeah, it's not perfect, but
yeah, I'm sure it has its warts and bruises, but the reality is you were able to grind and hustle and take huge risks. And obviously it sounds like you've also gone through a lot of trouble to get here. And it's now allowing you the ability and the mindset and the mind space to actually, one, be a little bit more generous with your time and knowledge to other people in the industry and professionals, but also as a father to your kids.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think, you know, honestly, also it's time in, like, I was in the military and we use this like time in service sort of metric. And so it's time in service with, you know, with this business too, where you just learn how to work differently. And you learn how to work differently for the reason of, you know, being able to reprioritize things that you've had to sacrifice along the way. And so I think that's the stage I'm in, just reprioritizing. And I still get a lot done. It's just a different, you know, from a different perspective.
How does your wife, Rebecca, think about the kind of changes that you're making now in lifestyle and in business? Because I'm assuming she was a very patient woman for you to embark on a business. I know, because I'm also a business owner, and it is one of the most riskiest and scariest things to do, I think, especially with the family. And I'm assuming just the patience level must be unbelievable with this woman. That you're kind of glossing over a lot of trials and tribulations that I can already start to fill in the gaps on.
Dude, she's a saint. Like, yeah, I mean, I almost blew the whole thing up, you know, opening the first cafe. You know?
Yeah.
And so I've you know, I've had to change the way that I do things, or else, you know, it just, you know, I don't think it's possible we wouldn't even be together. You know? So something had to change, and she was patient. She would take the little changes and count them as big wins. You know what I mean? Like the incremental changes along the way, where you just get a little bit better each time at opening a shop and not working 80 hours for, you know, 4 weeks straight, and, you know, and then now you're working 60 hours. She's like, that's, you know, it's not perfect. It's not what I envisioned for us long term, and we've got to figure out how to do it different, but you're doing better. And so good job, you know? So yeah, so she's been incredibly patient with me. Yeah. Yeah. And supportive.
And what does she think about your kind of mindset shift as it relates to the future and current shift and the future shift of you being a dad?
I mean, she sees it, and, you know, there's still a little bit of, you know, when I talk about growing, there's still a little twitch that happens.
Yeah, PTSD.
And I'm like,
a little twitch.
Yeah, I'm like, it's, you know, this is me. I'm still gonna do that, but, you know, I'm gonna do it better. And so she sees it, and you know, and she's really helpful at helping me, because she's different than me. Like she's not, I mean, she's got her own business too, but she's not the same type of driven that I am. You know, she accomplishes things, it seems like, a lot more gracefully, and I'm just pretty like,
Yeah.
you know, roll up the sleeves and get it done. But yeah, so she, you know, she's, yeah. Anyway, I think to answer that question, like she sees the work that I'm putting in with the kids, and I think it's a relief to her because now she has her own business and I can go, you know, she used to do everything, pick up the kids, drop them off, like, and now I'm doing, you know, now she has a partner that she can share that load with, and I think she's super grateful for that.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So there's always been an alignment, even as you guys have gone through these phases.
Yeah, I think there's been an alignment. You know, it's definitely been, my life has been subsidized by her, if that makes sense.
Totally does.
My ability to do what I do is, I couldn't have done, I wouldn't be where I was at if she hadn't, you know, just been willing, even sometimes it's not her favorite thing in the world, but willing to pick up the slack, willing to, you know, put in the extra time, energy, and effort. There have been times where, you know, I think she let it slip one time. Somebody was talking about their experience with being a single parent, and she's like, oh, I get it. You know, I understand. You're like, me too, you know? And I'm like, shame, dude. So she's happy that things are changing for sure.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I'll let you off the hook a little bit by relieving some of your pressure on that one. But Amy has made that joke or comment a couple of So I'm right there with you. But I think it's just like, you know, this desire to, you know, create is one thing, you know, but I also think it's like this desire to provide and create, like, you know, some sort of like, I don't know. For me, it's like it feeds me personally because I'm like, I like to build and create, but I also like want a certain level of security for my kids.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to provide that other than using the one skill that I have, which is creating things and building things. And so it could be a brute force way of thinking about a very sophisticated problem or a nuanced problem, but it's just something that I want to do, and I want it more than anything. And so I don't know, like, how does that response make you feel? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Or what do you think about that?
I certainly resonate with it. And then there's this whole side of it that's like, you know, I don't remember who said it, but it's like, all they really want is you. You know what I mean? Like, all they really want is you. Like, they'll appreciate living a, you know, privileged life and being able to do the things that they want to do, and, you know, get into the things that, be able to deep dive into the things that they want because you've provided the resources for it. But at the end of the day, there's no trade-off for, you know, just your connection with them. Ultimately, they would rather feel more safe and secure in your arms than know that your bank account is safe and secure. So for me, I'm the same, where I'm like, I grew up poor. I want to be able to provide more for you, but I also have to temper that and balance it out a little bit. I don't really love the word balance, but also have to hold that in tension with the fact that, you know, there's no amount of money that's going to make up for their true desire, which is, you know, connection with me as their dad. Beautiful.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Thanks, Sam. That was awesome. Let me switch gears and bring us home here. I have a couple of rapid fire questions I want to ask you, and then we'll get you back to roasting the country's greatest coffee.
Thanks.
All right. So if you could give one piece of advice for parents or soon-to-be parents, what advice would you give them?
I'd say enjoy the ride, and the stakes are almost never as high as they feel. Yeah, especially with new parents. You know, the first time your baby's just screaming and crying, like, I remember just being like, I will stop the world for this child. And they just need a little bit of food. They're just actually just a little bit hungry, you know? They're just a little hungry. That's their way of communicating. So everything feels so amplified, and you know, you get really, we're over kind of eavesdropping on some new parents the other day, and they were just trying to, you know, get everything right and do all the right things and have the right equipment for their kids, you know, and it was just like, you know what? That's cool. I mean, put your heart and soul into it, but at the end of the day, the stakes are not as high as they feel. So and enjoy, and just figure out ways to enjoy the ride, because every phase, like, they progress so quickly through everything. Like, just figure out how to be in the moment, appreciate the moment, and also look forward to the next moment.
Yeah, it's a really good one. What is the most surprising thing that you learned about yourself after becoming a parent?
Ooh, most surprising thing I've learned about myself after becoming a parent. Okay, so this is an interesting one. Like, you know, I look at my parents, and of course we all are able to see all the things that, you know, we wish they would have done differently. What was surprising to me was to find out how I almost felt like those things that I wished my parents would have done differently were literally a part of my DNA somehow. Like without a force acting upon me, I would be the exact same person that, like, my dad was. So just, I thought it was really interesting, just like all these things that I looked at as, oh, I'm going to do that differently. How quickly those things like popped up in myself, in the way that I was parenting my kids. And I was like, okay, well, this isn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. And I'm actually not as perfect of a human as I created my little, how I'm going to be a parent plan. So just, a lot of adapting there.
I love the vulnerability and self-deprecation about people. It's so true. I find myself fighting myself being like my dad all the time. I'm like, oh man, I'm totally doing that thing. And I'm like, why am I doing that thing? Oh, it's too awesome.
Yeah. Well, they're like such close relationships, and those close relationships are way more of a mirror than you ever expect them to be. And you're like, oh yeah, that's actually who I am. Okay, all right, we're gonna change that.
Yeah. Okay, let me move on to the next one.
All right.
Kind of in the same thread. If you can go back and tell yourself one thing before having kids, what would you tell yourself?
I think it would be have fun. I've found such a value in, just the fun times. Like, me growing up, I felt like dads were kind of the stern, they were the stern ones, the disciplinarians, I will be respected at all costs kind of mentality. And that's just so, it's such a liability in relationships with your kids. So, having fun and creating memories, I think is the biggest piece of advice I would give myself. Have fun and create meaningful memories with your kids.
I love that, man. That's great. It's really good.
Yeah.
All right. So if you had to say what your favorite business book is, what would that be?
The one that I think has impacted me the most in the last several years is Principles by Ray Dalio. That one was a really challenging book, and a lot of the concepts I was like, so that book and then Extreme Ownership, those are the two books that I think are probably have impacted me the most personally. Extreme Ownership for me, I know you asked me for one, I'm giving you two, because I was real good at playing like the blame game, but when you're in business for yourself and you're the owner, like there is no one to blame any longer. So that extreme ownership mentality was huge. Principles by Ray Dalio was great because it changed our culture from a culture that, walked on eggshells to a very open, honest, transparent culture where everybody now could say what they need to say to anybody at any time. And it's created such a level of health and safety in our organization that I have to look back at that business and give it the proper credit for what it did for us as a culture.
It's awesome, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
I got to check out that second one for sure. That's great. Okay, and then to bring us home, when you're not roasting the best coffee in the world and being a super fun-loving super dad, what does Sam do for fun? What's your downtime activities?
Playing a lot of pickleball.
Nice.
Yeah.
You're so hip. You're so trendy. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, pickleball's just spans the gamut. You're out there with 19-year-olds and you're out there with the 90-year-olds. So it's and just really good community. So
yeah.
So pickleball. I'm a big food guy. I love trying new foods. I love cooking. I love tasting, being a connoisseur of things. So I'll be a connoisseur of just about anything. So could be hot dogs, could be whiskey, it could be you name it. And wine, I love wine. So I just like going down the rabbit hole of flavor and sensory experiences. So
that's awesome.
So you can find me doing something along those lines if I'm not playing pickleball.
So your fascination with coffee kind of transcends the product itself. It's more just like you like to go deep into things.
Yeah, I like to go deep into things. I think with coffee, it really opened my eyes to the fact that everything has, there's a spectrum of quality. And I mean, you can name any product. It could be mayonnaise. There's a spectrum of quality. You could have a mayonnaise that would blow your mind. And if you tried it next to the one that you've been eating your entire life, you're like, it's just I just didn't know, So going down those those holes is deep down the rabbit hole. Last thing I think last time we talked, I was telling you about the Wagyu hot dogs that I bought when we went camping. So it's just exploring
so excessive
the spectrum of quality in different products. It's a lot of fun.
I'm glad that now I know whenever I look at these things, I'm like, who the hell buys this stuff? Now I know who's buying it. Exactly. It's so excessive. Why would they do that? And then now I know who they're making it for. They're making it for you. You're their target market. Yeah,
I am. And unfortunately, by doing that, I think I've ruined my kids. I don't know. They just can't eat.
They can't eat chicken nuggets or hot dogs anymore.
My aunt, thankfully, she's a lovely lady. She took them to their first buffet, and they were like, "What is this stuff?" They're like, they were just not interested. I used to go to buffets, and I was just going to town, man. They go to buffets, and they're like, "No, we'll wait for something better."
That's awesome. Hey, Sam, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me about your life, your journey, and your family. It's been very, very enjoyable getting to know you in this way, and I look forward to continuing conversations ongoing. Thank you again for sharing.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we'll talk soon, brother.
All right. See you soon.
Thank you again for listening to another episode of The Girl Dad Show. If you enjoyed listening to this episode, please take a moment to give us a review on your podcast service. These reviews help us grow a lot more than you know.